So back on this low distortion amplifier, oscillator, not amplifier. Anyway, TLO 74 turned up yesterday. Tried it on the breadboard. Didn't really think it'd make any difference. It didn't. Of course, quad FET input op amps these are, and I was eventually getting, as I had with the other trips, I was down to 0.0014%. So there you go. And today I've made a printed circuit board, and it is certainly not one of my best. I don't know what went wrong with the etching process, but some parts of the board seem to etch a lot quicker than others. Hence I've got a break in that track there, and it's a bit, altogether it's a bit shabby. Hasn't come out as well as I would have liked to do, but I think it'll still work fine. I'm afraid I'm not living in the modern world where you go on a computer, design your board, send it to China, get it made in China, sent back. I can't be bothered with all that. I haven't got the patience to do all that software, learn all that software. Maybe you make a mistake, get the board back after a week or two to find you've made a mistake, and you have to pay for it as well, and I'm just too impatient. I'd have lost interest long ago before I got the board from China. It was only if I only ever got to the point of mass producing these, then I might consider that. But I do it the old fashioned way, and I can knock up a board in 2 or 3 hours. What else we got to show you? Goes over there. We have the box, which I'm going to put it in. B and C on the front. This is actually a repurposed box, so things are not ideal. The switch is on the back for a start, power switch. But I'm so poor, I can't afford to buy new boxes. Isn't it sad? So I have to repurpose old ones, and I'll have a hole or two in there that doesn't do anything in it. And I'm going to run it on 2 9-volt batteries, because it works perfectly on 9 volts. Doesn't affect the distortion, doesn't affect the output level, and then you've got no problems with noise from power supplies getting into the circuit. And of course it uses minimal current, around 10 milliamps I think, so batteries should last a fairly long time. Enough of all that waffling. Oh yeah, one other point. I was going to change these for polypropylene capacitors, these brown ones, but they haven't turned up yet. And I'm going to go ahead with these at the moment. I'm going to swap them when the new capacitors turned up. Personally, I don't think putting it in a box and on this circuit board will make the slightest difference to lowering the distortion, but we shall see. Now I'm going to put all the components on. So here it is, finished board. Haven't tested it yet. I could have drilled holes in the more conventional manner of making a PCB, but I hate drilling holes. I usually end up breaking loads of drills, and this will be fine like it is, all mounted on the top. What else is there to say? Somebody brought up an interesting point, referring to these capacitors. Might it be a good idea, he said in the comment on the last video, to look for the outside foil of the capacitor, as in Mr. Carlson, and put that to the low impedance point? Well, it's a very good suggestion, but I don't think it will make a lot of difference, if any, in this circuit, because there's no noise flying around in this box, there's no power supply, there's nothing you can pick up in a metal box, so I've not bothered to do any of that at the moment. And what else is there to say about it? I've just got the bulb there at the moment. I want to try and thermally bond that bulb, if I can, to the PCB, which will keep it more thermally stable. Make a little bracket maybe to go over the top of it. And I'm shivering because it's cold in here. What's the temperature in here? Oh, it's 10 degrees. Oh well, could be worse. And oh, I've even got a date on it, if you can see there, 3/8/23. And it's only after I'd written that on I realised I'd done it in the American format. I must be becoming Americanized. There's an output wire there just to test it. I may put a 470 pot on there and take the output at that point, and I can adjust the level to around 1 volt. But I really need to just see if it works first before I worry about stuff like that. So all wired up, scope connected, audio analyzer connected, current check, 9 volts, 10 milliamps, positive channel, 8 milliamps, negative channel, down to the scope, and here we have a sine wave, and it is at 2.3 volts RMS and 1.007 kilohertz. Up to the audio analyzer. And as you can see, the results are, that's the distortion, not very good. But if I disconnect the scope and leave the audio analyzer connected, it immediately starts to drop. So it's very dependent upon what you connect to it. But it's still not as good as it was on the breadboard. And my camera's moving. I was getting, as I said earlier, 0.0014% distortion. What should I do with it? Smash it? How can I improve it? I don't think I've done anything different, apart from maybe one capacitor's in a different place to the previous time. I don't really think that would have affected it. There's no noise pickup from the bench as far as I can see. If I lift it up above the bench, it doesn't make a lot of difference. It could still work better when it's in this green box, but I wonder if it will. I think what I will do though, just because I can, is just swap those two brown capacitors over, see if they make any difference. I can't see as I can do much else with it, so I'll do that. So, this is most amazing. I find it amazing. Those two capacitors, which I thought were identical, but they were probably slightly different values. I've swapped them, and now we look up at the audio analyzer, and that is so far the best I've achieved with this. Now down to 0.0011% distortion. So that is most intriguing, isn't it? It will be very interesting to see what happens with those new ones, which I haven't received yet. Those polypropylene. That's it. So when I get those, I'll put those in to see what it does. But for the time being, I think I'm going to put it in its box. I'm not sure what to do about the pot. I might try it with the pot. Putting the pot in it. I mean, 2.3 volts is fair enough. Nothing wrong with that really. What's the circuit say? The circuit says, no, it doesn't say that. It says I should have a 470 on the output. Well, I have got a 470. I could put a 470 on the output. I don't know if that'll improve it or what, but I'll try that. So now I've got a 470 in there between the output from the chip and the main output. And up there hasn't improved it at all. 0.001 whatever. I don't really think it would do. I think the next step to do with it is to stick it in this box and see if that makes much difference. I really don't think it will, but we can try anyway. But yeah, before I do anything else to it, I'm going to get this bulb, make a little copper bracket maybe, and stick that down to the board. That might help a bit. So it's in this box temporarily. I still need to wire up the LED, don't want to do that yet because there's no point. And running on 9V batteries now. And down there you can see I have made a little bracket to hold that down onto the PCB. Might improve the stability a bit, who knows. But it works. But it's not fantastic. I mean, it's still 0.0015. At least the frequency's not far off. So I don't think there's much more I can do there at the moment. I think I'll just have to wait now and see what happens to it when I get those other capacitors. See if they make any difference to it. And not much else I can say for it at the moment. Hopefully they'll come soon. Putting the lid on makes absolutely no difference whatsoever. Still the same. So there you go. So new capacitors just turned up. These red things, polypropylene Weimar, 2.5% tolerance. So I just tacked them in to try it, and I've carefully marked the old ones. Here are the old ones, where they went, because I don't think there's any point in these capacitors. If you look at the distortion now, where if anything slightly worse at 0.0015%. Not only that, I just knocked it, I did. Anyway, if anything, and of course the frequency's now gone down a bit, which is slightly annoying, so I won't be using these capacitors. I did try swapping them round, see if that would make any difference. Didn't make any difference. So obviously the original capacitors were good enough. But yeah, so I'm going to put the old ones back in. So back in with the old ones. You also notice I put a preset in here so I could turn the level down to about 1 volt. It's just tacked in. I'll tidy it up later. But the interesting thing is, it's at the moment turned right up to the maximum, 2.3 volts RMS. And if we go up here to don't do that. This camera thing is just hopeless. Right, that's more or less stable. So I'll go to AC level, 2.5 volts. Now if I turn that down now on the preset, I want to get it down to 1 volt. Near enough anyway. Right, that'll do, that's near enough to 1 volt. Now back to distortion again, and as you see, it's now gone up, but that isn't the actual circuit. I've proved that. It is the audio analyzer, and I'll confirm that by unplugging this signal and plugging in its internal oscillator, AC level again. Right, we're now using the internal oscillator, 2.3 volts, same as my circuit on its maximum. Distortion 0.02, which is somewhat worse than my circuit, quite a bit worse. Right, back to AC level, amplitude 1 volt, distortion 0.049. So the measuring circuitry in this basically measures a lower distortion at a high level. Whether that's a problem in the instrument, I don't know. That's beyond my reckoning at the moment. So all I've proved is that my circuit is working, and it's working a lot better than the internal oscillator in this instrument. This thing may need some adjustments, but I have been in it. It's a bit of a nightmare because you have to drag it off the top of here, and it's quite heavy, and I don't want to get into that again in a moment. The only conclusion I've got is that this circuit is working as well as it can, as far as I'm concerned. I don't know how the person who wrote the article got the distortion levels as low as he did. Let's just go back to that. Where's the last page? Right, he got 0.0005%, and I'm a little bit worse at 0.0014-ish%. I don't know how to improve it any more than that. If I could filter out the harmonics, second and third harmonics are the worst, I think, then it could be improved maybe. But I haven't had any experience of low pass filters at these frequencies. I'm more in tune with low pass filters at RF frequencies. They seem a lot more user friendly. Well, just because I've done them more, I suppose. Anyway, to conclude all this, I'm going to get in this box, and that'll be the end of it. So I'll get on with that. So here it is, the finished product. I think it was worth making this. It does seem to have much better distortion figures than the HP 8903 internal oscillator. LED looks bright, but it isn't really. It's just that I'm running it on very low current because it's on the battery, and I don't want to run the battery down. And a quick look on the scope again. There it is. Nice enough sine wave. And one last look on the 8903. And the final figures are 0.0015 roughly. So that's the end of that. Anyway, in conclusion, it didn't reach its specified distortion figures in the article, and I don't know why. But it could be my measuring equipment. But if anybody's got any other ideas or suggestions, I'd very much welcome your comments. Thanks for watching, bye for now.